Hello, friends. Maybe enemies, spies. Hello, Asaf.
Hey everyone,
Curious onlookers,
enemies and spies. Okay, okay,
honest seekers, saints, criminals. Asaf, I have a feeling that
yeah.
all kind of people come to the Kabbalah channel thinking that not exactly sure, either looking for a way to make their life better, looking for a way to,
Right.
I don't know, rob a bank,
Also
get a
because
line in the stars.
Kabbalah is weird. It's a weird thing. What is it? That's what
So
two
I'm
thousand
saying, hell,
years of hiding of a
more
hidden
than two.
wisdom.
Yeah.
That's what it does. Yeah.
So, hello, friends, maybe enemies, spies, curious onlookers, honest seekers, saints, criminals, Asaf, everyone, welcome.
All of y'all,
Welcome,
all of y'all.
welcome all
I
y'all
like it.
to the great
Yeah.
transition. As usual, we are observing the world. We are observing the works of nature, of this single unified force that actually all of the great ones throughout all the generations were searching for this single unified force. Somehow bunch of guys in plaid shirts found it through the through Bala Sulam and his lineage through Rabash to our
Right.
teacher. Um, Definitely not as great as those great ones who were looking for it, those other ones, but
Definitely. That's for
we
sure.
lucked out.
Yeah.
Uh, this most interesting and meaningful perspective, and to be frank, I'm a regular guy. Grew up in the suburbs of New Jersey. I can be excited by all kind of things in pop culture, anything really, good food. I'm so bored by what I see in the news. I'm not interested in the billionaire space race. I'm not interested in which political party is lying to the public more this week. I'm definitely not interested in third graders learning. Okay, hold on. There's a national, I don't want to take too long in this opening here. There's a national standard for sex education in the United States.
Mm,
National standard for sex.
okay.
Um, So anyway, there in sixth grade you learn about anal sex. Now in third grade you learn about masturbation. So listen, I'm not a monk by any means, um,
Mhm.
but I'm just bored with all of this ridiculous nonsense that is filling all of the airwaves. This waste of times, these futile attempts to raise a generation. The
Mm.
news, the government pushing some agenda. Nobody's asking where are we going.
May,
What
may
is this
I
all about?
may I differ slightly?
Okay.
No, I agree
I'm not sure about which
that
point.
about it being not interesting. I would say that what happens to mankind is really interesting, but what we are looking into, meaning what you see on the news and the kind of commentary and the kind of same old opinions. Oh, he said like this, he said that, the Biden said this, Bennett says that, whatever, the whole like repetitive kind of uh, uh, um, um, rejigging and remixing and recycling of the same old view on life is what you see, and that I think is boring as
Boring.
hell.
And it's
Yeah.
missing, it's certainly missing the big picture. It's even missing the personal picture.
And
I
the
mean, the big
and yeah, where's some quest, some spirit of adventure, some questions about where we're from, what we are here to do, what's the purpose of all of this, where are we headed? No one seems to. It's like it's not even legitimate to comment on matters from this perspective, or that people have. It's this is why I find everything's boring. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah,
I'm
that's
cutting you
what I
off.
was
I'm
trying to
cutting you
no,
off when you're trying.
that's what I was
You're
trying to
trying to
say. The
make a
fact
beginning. Yeah.
the fact that humanity is developing from dirt into a sentient being who's aware of himself and will be equal with God. Now, that's very, very interesting. But everything I see in the media is what I meant was boring. Like the actual what's happening is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The ridiculousness in all of the media is very, very boring. And that's why we're here, everyone, to talk about what's
Right.
going on from that perspective. Let's start at a very, very high level. It's not spiritual yet, but at a big macro level. And then let's get really, really personal. Today, we're going to talk about a something called reshimote. In Hebrew, it means records. This is like okay. Let's do like this to start.
Okay.
We have an Earth.
You This is a
Take some
hardcore
props.
start you just did
Okay,
there.
so this is a piece of wood. This is gonna represent Earth. Usually I put like my shaker on there or put some guitar picks on there and keep it on my desk here. So this is gonna represent Earth. This shaker is gonna represent the moon. The
All
Earth
right.
is spinning. The Earth is spinning on its axis. The moon is
Yeah.
also going around the Earth spinning.
You might
Okay.
be accused there of of displaying a flat earth.
I don't have any better
sorry,
props.
sorry, I had to. I
Interesting,
had to.
right? Depending on
Go
who's
ahead.
watching the show, they may say that.
That's it. Now
Okay.
I'm
Anyway,
no more jokes. That's it.
all right. So the moon is going around the Earth, and let's say, for example, you see that red glow over there. Say that's the sun coming over here. So you
Okay.
have you have the force, the powers from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
You also have forces from the moon. So without the sun, there's no life on Earth. We
Sure.
understand that, right?
Of
We're
course.
talking about spirituality, which actually that's all there is. But in general, what we understand from just our regular science,
Yeah.
you need the sun. Okay,
And this
then
is
you have
why
this.
people worshipped the sun for thousands of years, by the way. But yeah, okay.
Okay, then you have this moon that's going around the Earth, and it's also affecting the Earth. It's pulling all of the water with it. It's making seasons.
Right,
It's
the
actually
tides
affecting.
are directly influenced by the moon, the gravity of the
If
moon. Yeah. Hmm.
if you know anyone in the 51% of the human population who has a cycle that may be related to the moon, or actually it was more strongly correlated to the moon in the past, these days we don't see it because we live in cities and things, but it's a
Hmm.
30-day cycle typically, which is the same cycle as the moon. So all of these things affect us on Earth. Now,
Hmm.
these three, the sun, the moon, and the Earth, they determine the materialization in some sense of these spiritual forces into corporeal forces. Somehow, we're not talking that spirituality comes out of material stuff, but somehow some force you have on Earth, for example, dirt. I'm going to get to the reshimo, to the
Yeah, but
records in a second.
just clarify what you meant by
I don't
spiritual
want to so much. I
forces
want to
and
leave it a little bit confusing
all right.
and a little bit
Okay.
vague at first. For
Okay.
sure, we don't say that anything corporeal causes the creation of anything spiritual, for sure.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
so um, you have some dirt. All right, imagine everyone, there's some dirt on the earth. We won't even go back before the dirt. Now, some data arrives from through, say, like the sun and through the moon. Just make a simple sketch in your mind. It's not accurate. This is just to get a feeling for something. Somehow, those forces, the seasons, right? There's 4 seasons. There's all these different kind of cycles that are happening. Big macro cycles, the
Yeah.
365 days of the sun and the seasons and everything in the day. All of those different rotations and things like that. Somehow the data starts to work on the Earth, and somehow out of it, it starts to organize in a way, gives it life somehow. And some of this dust and dirt and from different cycles and seasons and stuff, it starts to organize itself and it starts to develop. And now it's not just dirt anymore. Now it's a single cell thing. And this data through all of these different cycles and things is somehow entering into the system and enlivening the dirt and mixing it and pushing it forward and throwing it into the ocean and throwing it up in the air through a volcano and smashing it back down through an earthquake, making it crack through spinning around and moving the water around and moving the earth around. It freezes and it gets hot and it gets cold, and somehow it's working. It's like a chef. I know you like food. It's like working with the dough. It's working and
Now
it's
you're speaking my language. Yes.
okay.
Okay.
So it's developing. This data is coming into this matter, and it is where the data is coming from. That would be the spiritual, but the data is somehow entering
Exactly.
through this
Yeah.
system. Okay,
But
so let's leave
yep.
that over there for the time being.
Okay,
So it's
but
somehow coming
we have
into this.
forces exerted on Earth, right? Uh, and you're
Yeah,
saying okay, and
and
they're
you wouldn't send like iPhone software down to work on dirt. You would send iPhone software once you already have chips and a form and a thing. Then you can send iPhone. So there's billions of years before you can get to to the iPhone software, for example. You're
Okay.
sending very simple, fundamental software in this four-part, line of code and all these things that develops the matter. And it takes hundreds of millions of years until eventually we get to monkeys, and then we get to us. And now here's what we can talk about today. We're
All
still
right.
receiving that data on us through all of the systems, right? Actually, it's not just that. Also, all of the constellations and things, like all the groups of things. There's all these different kind of forces working around, making all these different things
Right.
happen here. Okay,
The
so
cosmos is cooking us towards our next
exactly.
level of development constantly. Got it.
So
Yeah.
we're receiving this data through the system. Okay,
Okay.
here's what we can do now. So after all these hundreds of millions, billions of years of development, we now don't have to be smashed through earthquake, sent up through volcano, because the thing that the compute, the heart, whatever we are, this piece of protein that was developed for all of these hundreds of millions of years,
Mm-hmm.
now is at such a level of development that it can absorb the data from the system and actually respond to the data in the system, and doesn't have to go through, for example, thousands of years of banging off this wall and being melted and then being formed again in order to advance. Now, the machine, which is us, can digest the data from the system called the reshimote. And as we develop more, we uh, you'll tell us more about that because that's your bag. You're better at explaining that. But um, I can't tell if you're with me, if you think I'm like off the deep end with this
I am
example, or if
with
you
you, but
got the.
I'm wondering where you wanna go.
Okay, this is where I want to go now. So it's clear that in order to develop dust to, let's say, a couple thousand years ago, primitive humans, okay,
Okay.
say 10,000 years ago, whatever. It takes a long time and a lot of trial and error, to get dust, to get everything to fit just right and all the conditions to be just right, to have
It's
all
like
of
you
this
have to like
development till it gets to.
exhaust all the various configurations and
Woo,
yeah,
you need a
okay.
lot of time, a
Nature
lot
does
of patience.
works hard to make people
Seriously,
that
seriously. 24/7,
it works so
360.
hard, and what do? And ultimately what we do is we sit and have a burger and watch Netflix. Is that the
That's
way you reward
this goes
nature for
back
creating you?
this goes back to our intro about how bored we are with it. Could you imagine you like created this whole thing and the
Yeah,
pinnacle of your
exactly.
creation is like, and you're like, oh my God. So anyway, that's what I want to get to today. We have coming at us this data, these reshimo, these records from creation, the beginning of,
Right.
well, we
Right.
know time and
There's
space and stuff.
the program that guides all evolution was already uh, conceived in potential before matter ever existed.
And the matter is
Yeah.
then almost like as if can't say digesting, but like revealing each next layer of the record of the reshimo,
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
data,
The
right? As the machine can comprehend the data a little more, like first it's a calculator, it can just do 2 plus 2, and then it becomes a computer that can do all these kind of computations, and then it becomes an iPhone that can do this, and then it becomes. So we're like that, at first we can just eat and poop and make babies, and then we can eat and poop and make babies and make a house, and then we can eat, poop, make babies,
yeah.
make a house, and do something else, and so more and
Yeah.
more and more, until now we're at a point where
Until
we until
until until we can recognize the program that governs our development. And that's where things get interesting, where the the matter or the piece of mud becomes conscious of itself and has the ability to become conscious of the program that governs it. That's where things get interesting.
So instead of
Yeah.
waiting For another world war or more and more problems, which what do they inevitably do? If we were able to take off the labels of good and bad or
Hmm.
pain and pleasure, like what are all of these events actually doing to humanity?
Right, right.
I'm
They
asking you.
are, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. I see what you mean.
take away the fact that the European explorers came to the Americas and killed everyone with their diseases. Take away any kind of notion of good and bad and just look at it as kind of like I don't know, maybe some kind of plant that like some bird ate a
Right.
plant, a bird ended up on a boat and he pooped somewhere else and dropped a seed and some plant did something. It's just this kind of, and then all of a sudden
I
there was a
think I
strong wind and it blew a seed to another
okay.
island.
I think to get there, to get to get there, we have to first describe how the program itself works. What is it? How was it conceived? We're for the last few minutes here talking about a program that guides everything that's happening, and nature is just, carrying out the laws of nature are carrying out a plan that is bigger than each and every individual law. All of the laws of nature are incorporated and interconnected together, weaving together a single greater goal, right? So, um, first we have to, I think, lay the foundation and understand what that goal is. Like, what is the program of all of evolution designed to do? Where did it come from? And so here we have to talk about us before. What? Go ahead.
You can see that something's boiling inside of me.
Yeah, you were going
No, I'm
to
holding
to
myself back because it's just a long tangent. It's like I'm still kind of bewildered that I started thinking about it. That Einstein
now I'm
and all of these
curious.
greats.
Okay.
Well, the Einstein and all these greats, you
Yeah.
know, we found it. Even to this day, all the greats in the Hadron,
Large
uh,
Hadron Collider. That's
oh,
what you were.
MIT, Harvard,
Yeah,
everywhere,
all
all these
these guys.
scientists, princes,
Yeah.
right? And the Kabbalists are sitting here in plain sight, willing to tell everybody about the whole system.
Right. Right. Right.
Anyway,
Well, that's a whole.
let's talk to
That.
our hold on, who is with us again? Let's talk to our friends and maybe enemies, spies, curious onlookers, honest seekers, saints and criminals, because they are the
Yeah.
ones who merited to know about the unified force of all of reality. So
Right.
how the universe did this, I'm not sure, but oh, that's what was on my mind. Carry on, my friend, my
Okay.
friend.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, so we come from this one point, call it the point of singularity, or call it, just like scientists find that the universe began. This is like the accepted customary scientific understanding, right? That all of the universe began from this little tiny, tiny, tiny point where
Which
all
weighed
of
a lot.
matter, which what?
Weighed a lot.
Well, all matter and energy was focused in it, and then it exploded and expanded and so on, and that's been happening for the last 14 billion years, right? But the so similarly, even before that, Kabbalists explain, we all of creation was before it was material, when it was just on the informative level, potential level, non material level of existence, pre matter, in the pre material existence, all, all of reality, all of creation was one. It was one thing. But then, in order to begin to develop its own consciousness, in order to just like an embryo has to come out of the womb and begin to live separated from the womb, so similarly that creation had to become separated and shattered. So then from this one collective creation, one collective desire that was created, then you have bits and bits and bits and bits of pieces of individual desires that are beginning to evolve, developing their own consciousness, not recognizing that they're actually one thing. But all that path that we took from being one to being many from being unified to being one, from being one point of singularity to being many different separate shattered pieces, all of that way from above downwards, let's call that, was recorded. All of the different states we went through, all of those, the different states of development that we went through already without our awareness, without our consciousness, they're already captured in our spiritual gene, in our spiritual genetics, what you called reshimote earlier. And that becomes the program that is now starting to play itself in the opposite direction, back from separation and shattering and disconnection, back to wholeness and oneness and unity. That's the whole plan. That's what's happening. But it's playing itself out in all kinds of ways. And we are now living through the program and what it does, but we're not recognizing where it's going and where it's headed.
Okay, so hold on. So
Yeah.
so I'm going to get super personal for a minute. So a piece of data comes to me. One of these Reshimo reveal for me some record as I'm starting to
Right.
become conscious, right? So just very, very generally, what is it then that I do? That I'm not a monkey anymore. I'm not just a monkey anymore. I'm monkey plus. I'm interested in my in becoming conscious of something happening, right? I'm not just looking at the Britney Spears headline, which, you know, free Britney, whatever, but there's like this new
Mm. It's
this
it's
new
an, it's
feeling
an
in me.
okay.
Even Kabbalists have Britney Spears headlines in their newsfeed. So there's
Unfortunately,
an
yeah.
God, how did Britney Spears get into this conversation? This piece of this new Reshimo awakens for me.
Yeah.
What do I, just generally, not specific, what am I doing with this data now that I'm monkey plus? You know, now that I'm not just go, because for example, a monkey has a baby monkey who also has a baby monkey, and they don't change much from generation to generation. An elephant, it doesn't
Right.
change much. A dog doesn't change much
Right.
through the generations. But monkey plus, we can change a lot from generation to generation on our way to what we call Adam, the degree of human, which the Kabbalist actually doesn't. Kabbalist calls us probably still monkey, not even monkey plus. I guess I'm giving us a little bit of the benefit of the
Yeah.
doubt
Yeah.
to actually be
You can
we're
find
monkey plus.
quotes from the Zohar that refer to all people of the world as beasts, and it may sound very demeaning if you don't know what they mean. They're just talking about laws of nature,
So
if you haven't developed, yeah.
is it legitimate to call us monkey plus?
Yeah, monkey plus is it's a cool definition, I think.
It's like a
But
little
to,
bit
yeah,
more. We're not just
yeah,
okay. So
yeah.
so in this process, the Kabbalist calls
I
the
would say
spirit.
I would to be a little historical on you a little, right? I would
Okay,
say every human being from 5,781 years ago, let's call them monkey plus.
okay,
Okay.
fair. So why don't we call us like humans? In essence, because what a human is in the spiritual system is that once we get back to that consciousness of unity, it's not just that I
Right.
have some consciousness of unity, like I'm here and I go through my life and I just know that everything is connected, but actually I start to perceive eternality. I don't perceive reality as my 80 years or my 90 years or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and my house and whatever, although I still live in one house and not in every house on the planet or on every star and planet in the known and unknown universe, but my feeling of life is eternal. That's human. That's called human. So that's where we're going.
Yeah.
And when we feel that, then you'll know because we'll start calling ourselves humans. In the meantime, we're monkey plus.
So yeah,
So what's the
we
benefit of this new each record revealing?
the yeah the when we I have to go back a little bit. The when that oneness was shattered, then at first we how did human beings evolve, right? We these records begin to emerge, right? The emergence of the shattered records, that's what we're talking about. This is what you're also want us to explore now, but on a personal level. I'm just giving a global perspective first. So the emergence of the broken or shattered records is what drives all of human development on a social global level, as well as our personal lives. Everything that's happening to you right now, a moment ago, and the next moment. It's all governed by the program that is called the emergence of those shattered records. And so at first, there's human beings discover that there is me and you, right? There's like we live we discover ourselves as animals that think 200,000 years ago. I don't know, 100,000 years ago, something like that, right? When people were we're talking primitive. Uh,
Very
uh,
similar to monkeys at that point.
yeah,
Very,
at
very,
that
even
point.
in our look and
So
everything.
so we live in packs and all that, but it's all survival instinct. Every animal called human, it's not a human yet, right? It's not the monkey plus even yet. It's almost monkey plus. It's on the way there, right? It's all very much based on centered around survival instincts. Sure, we have some communal activities and behaviors, but it's all driven by the survival instinct. That desire for having, I need a cave or a shelter, somewhere to be, somewhere to eat, and that's it. That's where it ends. That's basically, like you said, we poop, we make babies. That's pretty much it. Then, fast forward, what happens is that we begin in the monkey plus, in the human level. This is the special set of
Hold on.
shattered,
Monkey plus,
yeah,
let's call monkey plus transition between like monkey and
and human.
spiritual.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Spiritual
in
human.
so that's where that's exactly, yeah, that's a good place to define that. So the monkey plus, the people who are walking on two legs, but they don't have spiritual consciousness yet. They're just developing on the level of this world, right? In this corporeal world, they're trying to improve their lives, basically. New desires awaken in them, and this is all a result of that program. It's the emergence of these lines of codes, these records that are driving the next level, the next state of human development each time. And then people begin to recognize that if they really want to enjoy, they need to use the others in some way. And that is what makes us connect into tribes. And that is what makes us build some communities together, because we discover, for instance, that we can protect ourselves better, or that we can defend a piece of land and we can divide responsibilities and build something on that land or grow crops on that land. And so I can benefit more if I become intertwined with some other humans. We can benefit more that way. But that's what drives our connection at this point. That's where it's going.
So, so,
Fast
so,
forward, yeah.
okay, just to be clear, so
Okay.
some giraffe, some monkey, he receives a little bit of data. He doesn't have a lot he can do with it. He has a very he's not developed yet. His hardware, I guess you would call it, his firmware on his hardware, it is not developed enough to give him many options to do with that, right? Like he gets some challenge. He doesn't think to himself, I'm going to build a bridge. I'm going to organize some people.
Exactly. It's
We're
like
going to
the okay, it's like this. It's like the for the animate level, the upgrades have stopped. You know how it is when you have an old phone and there's
right.
no more
It's
support for
discontinued.
the
We do not support.
discontinued.
There's no.
Yeah, we can't support we can't support this thing. There's no more updates, no more upgrades. You're either gonna get in you're either gonna get a new
Time
phone
for a new phone.
or you're stuck with this one. So the giraffes and the other animal level, which are wonderful. I love the animal kingdom. No offense, giraffes, but you know, that's where it ends. Their social capabilities ends with what they need. They will become communal to some extent, and they will have, monkeys have very complex social life, you can say, but it still doesn't get close to humans at all. Why? Because there's no more records. It's done. No more upgrades. And we are still receiving upgrades from the program. We haven't downloaded all of the updates yet. It's being downloaded as we speak. And the most unique download is happening right now in the 21st century. That's the big operating system change. This is where, Windows this is really geeky examples today, but it's this is where Windows move becomes from, from Windows from are you familiar with the computers that didn't have Windows on them? That it had the
DOS.
disk DOS,
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this is where the big change is happening, from that to Windows or to Mac or whatever it is you're on.
Right. It used
We're
to be all the computers used to
yeah.
be all just lines of code, and then the real innovation of Windows was this thing called GUI, which is like a graphic user interface. So instead of a line of code,
Right.
they put a
Graphic.
picture there. So if you wanted to move
Mm-hmm.
this from here to here, you didn't have to write a line of code. You
Yeah.
just represented that code with a picture, and you could just move it from here
How
to here.
interesting is that? How interesting is that? I think, computer science is really fascinating when you think about that in relation to the reshimote that we're talking about, because it's really it's really this
Well,
similar
if
things.
so,
All this the stuff that we come up with in computer science, there's a reason why it's unique to the human species, computer science, because we are repeating and replicating processes that come from our understanding of how nature works with us. It's not a conscious thing, but there's a reason why the monkey, can come up with a computer. This idea of translating zeros and ones, truth and false, this basic logic to uh, um, combining together lines of codes that work for you and get you a result, is some way of mimicking the natural program that only the human can do. Um, yeah. Where were we? Where did
if I
we?
yeah, yeah, you remember where we were
We
because it
we, we
was
got
really
really
great
geeky
flow.
all of a sudden, but
Do you remember where you were?
I have no idea where we
Okay,
were.
so let's talk
Yeah.
about that graphic user interface for a minute. Like this, you have line of code, and it appears to us now as pictures, images, right? When I look at my
Right.
computer, I'm moving windows around and things like that. I'm not writing code to make things happen.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
if
yeah. No,
if
go
if
go
I'm
go ahead.
if I'm
Speak.
this if I'm looking to develop this creature in order to be able to be conscious of itself and be conscious of eternity, so I'm shining this light, through, we talked about, through the celestial things and the sun and the moon and the spin of the earth and the water and everything, and it comes down and it starts working on this dust. The water enters the dust becomes mud, that becomes starts to organize more, okay, through the seasons of freezing and hot and cold and time and up and down. Eventually it takes the form of a monkey plus, okay. Now that
Mm-hmm.
monkey plus, in order to develop, in order to make it through all of those billions of years and become that form, he needed to have a program inside himself that he wants for himself, because he needs to make sure he gets fed. He needs to make sure he has a house. And also, if I want him to really be conscious, he needs to make sure he's great, and he needs to make sure he has this and this so that he can really grow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, but what I want him to do though, now that he's big and he wants everything, I want him to enter into eternity, because now he starts to understand who he is and what's going on a bit. But now I need to get him into eternity, but he can't. But I got a problem because he's stuck inside of his protein. He's stuck inside of this thing that he's been doing for the last few billion years. So what do? I put this graphic user interface, I put this thing in front of him. It appears to me, for example, as another person or another political party or another race or another religion. I put something in front of him that he feels repelled to. He feels hatred towards. He feels
Okay.
indifferent towards. It's
Mm-hmm.
still code. It's still code,
Yeah.
but I'm seeing it now as pictures. These forces have enlivened reality in front of me, have depicted reality in front of me as other
And it's not just a
creatures,
visual picture, it's an emotional picture.
emotional.
It works on all of your pieces of data. All of your hardware is being activated by this simulation or this software. Yeah, you're
In fact,
dreaming up. You're dreaming up the code. You're breathing life into the code. This is
mm-hmm.
essentially what the created being is designed to do. We are feelers. We are sentience. We are desire. That's why nature created a desire. It wanted uh, uh, someone who can feel, who can sense, who can uh,
Yes, all this eternity.
experience everything there is to experience. That's also why, AI will never replace the human consciousness. It's a
No, no, no. Keep
misunderstanding of
keep the
consciousness.
pressure. Keep the pressure. Don't relieve the pressure.
Okay, I was I wasn't
No, if you
that
say AI is not going to take over, then people can start to relax a little bit more about
okay.
that. No, keep the
No, I'm
pressure on.
not saying it. Okay,
Well,
may
it'll still
I
be a
don't
good fight.
I didn't. That's a different question, but I didn't say it's not going to take over. That's that. Maybe
Oh,
let's leave that question for
okay.
another show. But
So I
yeah.
want the get you got to get this piece of developed cells, organized cells, to now start to turn out and experience eternity, right? Because he's been developing himself for a few billion years. So
Right.
now I depict in front of him all these other religions and other people and other races and other opinions, which he hates, or he doesn't like, or he disregards, or he doesn't even notice them. It's not even part. And so
Mm,
slowly, as the data is coming, this is going back to the reshimote.
yeah.
Okay, so a piece of data comes, and the piece of data shows me today. Your lesson is you're seeing how much you don't, you
Wait.
disregard. You don't. Okay.
Wait. Here's what needs to happen with these states of animosity, hostility, disgust, rejection. Let's just call it. Let's think about it like physicists, right? There's Human beings are beginning to feel increasing resistance and rejection to each other. Um, and again, and I'm saying the more we advance, the more this grows in exponentially.
And
And
historically, it
now,
was tornadoes and heat waves and freezing spells
no,
and
and
giant pluses and
you can
minuses.
still say, but wait, people treated each other much worse in the past. You can say, there were crucifixions and witch hunts and and people and torture and all that that existed in medieval times. So how are we saying? Why am I saying that people are becoming more cruel? This is the thing that it's important to make that distinction. I think that when we're talking about the emergence of the shattered records, it's not about what people did to each other in the past. It's about how they feel and perceive each other. So today, the level of disgust, let's say, that people, for example, on the left might feel towards people on the right is something that is a lot more sophisticated and cunning and conscious than what people had in the past. In the past, it was, yes, there was torture and horrible, behaviors towards each other, but there wasn't this distinct, conscious, independent, growing animosity between people. It's not of the same kind. Again, if you judge it from a spiritual perspective, looking at the emergence of the shattered records, only in our time this is happening. But on the other hand, we've because of these shattered records, we were trying increasingly over time to suck profit off each other as much as we can, to the point that it drove us without noticing, as if to, all of a sudden you have Magellan and Columbus, discovering new continents. Oh, there's another piece of land. We can take over this. We can take over that. We can start building up technology. Let's make a lot more money by, owning a piece of land and building 1,000 times more apartments that we can sell because we can build up. Well, why did that thing? Everything that's happening, technology and commerce and industry and media, everything is happening in human society, and especially in the last, if you think 200 years, you haven't had in the last even 150 years, technologically speaking, all of the development of the last 150 years is more than all of technological development before that. I would argue there's a sharp exponential curve that's happening. Why? Because we are quickly, we've entered a stage where we are exhausting these shattered records, these lines of code, very very quickly. Again, I'm calling
So,
them
so
shattered because
this is the
they're
third
lines of
time
code
we
that come from our shattering. Yeah.
this is the third time we've cycled around this. So what I want to get to
Yeah.
is that before the data, the reshimo would come, and it would take a long time for, or it would just, we didn't consciously participate with the data, but now the reshimo reveals. And here, I was trying while you were talking. I hope it wasn't distracting. I was looking to find out where this. I copy pasted something from Bala Sulam. I was trying to find where he wrote it. Maybe Panim wrote, but he says like this: the evolving object, meaning that dust that the water entered and through all the forces started to develop for billions of years until it came to us. The evolving object is a living and feeling being, and it suffers horrendous torments and pains while under the press of development, which carves its way ruthlessly. So
Right. Wait, this is Balasuram. We should
I couldn't
people who are
find where it's from.
not used to this text, we should maybe put it on the screen if we can. Our Chris is limited
Okay.
today. He's on the road,
We
right?
can tell everybody he's with his friends. He's with his family in Texas at a water park.
But he's on the road right
Oh, he's
now,
on the road today. Yeah.
so he can't. Okay.
Chris, we
So
miss you. I know you're listening. Okay.
so we want to
We
show you a quote on the screen. I don't it'll be complicated for me to organize this now. Maybe just
No,
read it
no, don't
again.
show it now. It'll be just hear it out.
Okay.
This is from the great Kabbalist Abba Sulam. He says the evolving object is a living, feeling being. It suffers. Imagine, for these billions of years, what it took to get you to be here today, or just to get you to become alive. How many cold spells and heat spells, and the whole earth on fire, and the whole earth is an ice ball, and you know,
Right.
and just diseases and you name it, running from wildebeests and who knows what. Um, is a living and feeling being, and it suffers horrendous torments and pains while under the press of development, which carves its way ruthlessly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's called the authority of heaven.
Yeah, and there you go, people. You know, look at how the Kabbalist. This is like it is so. It's just incredible. You know how I don't know what's the word here. Objective, concrete, uncompromising the Kabbalist
Mm-hmm.
is. You know, in their description of natural laws. They don't go like, "Oh, God is good." You know, we have to like worship the Lord or something like that. You know, Kabbalists will just tell you, you're, yes, there is a greater force that you're guided by, and there's a sublime purpose that it's leading you towards. But the natural laws, they are relentless, uncompromising, and immovable. And yes, they will bring you suffering and horrible suffering if you don't you know, understand how to work with them. Just like you can't jump off a cliff and expect gravity to suddenly
Okay,
go be merciful on you.
okay.
You know,
Now, just but relax for a minute, because now he's going to tell us
sorry,
about the authority of the
I
earth.
got excited with the
Okay.
quote. Yeah.
No, I love how you explained it. You said uncompromising, right? He's not. He doesn't have a
Right.
PR agent, the Kabbalist, and
Yeah,
he's
that's what I was getting at. That they're
yeah.
so
It's
just trying to communicate the truth. Go ahead. The second
uh,
part of it?
so the second part he calls the authority of the earth, and there's still a lot of confusion on this part. But within the authority of the earth are people who have taken this above mentioned law of development, meaning these reshimo that are coming to us, under our own government, and we can free ourselves entirely from the chains of time and greatly accelerate time,
Mm,
namely the completion of the ripeness and the correction of the object, which is the end of its development, and the end is guaranteed. So let me read that again. The end is guaranteed. I'm just adding, but
right.
let's say it again. People who have taken this above mentioned law of development under their own government, meaning this law of development is happening no matter what, whether it's
Yeah.
from the under the authority of
Doesn't
heaven
care who
or under
you
the authority.
are, doesn't care whether you're on the left or the right or the middle or whatever. Yeah, it's just working. Yeah.
So people who have taken this above mentioned law of development under their own governance can free themselves entirely from the chains of time and greatly accelerate time, namely the
Right.
completion of the ripeness and the correction of the object, which is the end of its development, which is perfection, eternity.
Yeah. So there you go. There you have it. So there's a program that is all the way from that spiritual singularity to the Big Bang to the development for 14 billion years of matter, dust with the moon and the sun and everything you want, right? Influencing it, developing it into plants a billion years ago or something like that, and animals, billion or half a billion years ago, something like that. And then you have monkeys 15 million years ago or something like that. And 200,000 years ago, this human level emerges. All of that is automatic. Nothing could be, there's no free choice, there's no consciousness that can participate in the process. And then comes the human level and evolves to a point where it can suddenly participate in the process. That's what Kabbalists have found 5,000, the first of them 5,781 years ago. That's what they've been trying to develop, and gradually what they've been developing for a few thousand years. And that's what they're now trying to communicate, especially since the last century with Bar Sulam, that all of us now as a species can begin to consciously participate in the process. It's no more just automatic records from the shattering that are playing themselves out. The lines of
So,
code are demanding our participation. It's like the user of, we become not just the program, but also the user of the program. The interface is beginning to present itself. I'm trying to go back
so
to
we
our
have
geeky
we have
our
the
geeky
we have the
allegories.
ability.
Yeah.
Oh no, the geeky allegories really work today. We have the try and find one for this. We have the ability now to. This is what it means to go beyond time. I mean, everything in our known reality is below, as Maimonides said, is below the speed of light.
Right.
So when you start participating in the program, you, as Bala Sulam wrote, and Kabbalists are very precise about what they write. It's not just like, I need to fill an extra sentence.
Exactly.
Every word is like a
Uncompromising.
line of code,
There's
right? It's a
there's
line
no
of code,
no poetic writing.
right?
No,
Everything
it's
is
no,
is
yeah.
this. Sorry, I
Yeah.
was talking over you.
No, I wasn't adding
He
much.
says that by taking this law under our own governance, we can free ourselves entirely from the chain of time, which means
Yeah.
in one corporeal second, in 1 second, because what is a second? You take the Earth, which is an inanimate object, and you take it around the sun. No, you spin it. Sorry, you spin it on its axis. That's called
Hmm.
24 hours.
Right.
Divide it into two sets of 12 and divide each one of those sets of 12 into 60. And then, so there you have, is how you get a second based on an inanimate object.
Hmm.
We're now talking about data. For example, if you knew a shortcut between, how did you get here so fast? Oh, I had a helicopter. So if you know, if you have enough development, right, you don't need to walk over the mountain and down the mountain and around the river and build, you could just take a helicopter or something. So if you know, if you've processed it, you can move faster through it. So in that one corporeal second, on the spiritual level, we can as if stretch it out and live 100 years of emotional, spiritual development within 1 second. This is
Right.
this
And
is
this is because it's thanks to the fact that there is already a program. We can't do anything about it. We're not going to, there's no need to complete the program. The program is going to take us all the way until we reach our conscious state of singularity. It's going to take us there. The program's there. But from a certain stage in our development, we can become conscious of the future lines of code. That's the thing. We can't the instead of just looking back and trying to research our development, we can look forward and understand where the lines of code, what they're trying to adjust in us, how they're trying to calibrate us, how we are an evolving software. We're getting upgrades, and we can begin to anticipate the future upgrades. And
So our
if
work,
that's,
like,
say it again, what?
so our work
Yeah.
is how do we, so that's called direct light, I guess we would say, right? That would be the information coming at us
Okay.
would be called direct light. There's
Oh,
many names.
or surrounding light depends on
Surrounding
what you're
light
trying
actually
to
is
explain.
o-
Yeah. Hmm.
okay, okay, that would be more accurate.
Depending on what you
There's a
want to
light
express.
that's
Yeah.
okay, so there's a surrounding light and it's pressing on
Yeah.
us. Pressing on us. Now, as we make this mechanism, as we learn to develop this mechanism inside of us, we work with this, we start to feel the surrounding light, and we start to work with that surrounding light, and then we can process.
We adjust our sensitivity to the surrounding light, to the program, in a way that it acts on us faster. Why? Because it doesn't change. It's constant, but we can already make a conscious move towards it, making us more sensitive to it, and then it acts on us in a greater to a greater extent, and it is thanks to our conscious participation. And that's also what free choice is all about. You can't choose where we're going or where we're headed. What we choose is only how we experience reality, how we experience the process.
What
It's a big mystery and misconception that exists about free choice that we're not going to solve now in the 5 minutes we have left. But that's what it has everything to do with free choice. So instead of the path of suffering, that this press of development is essentially, it's a path of suffering, because
which is
yeah,
the
which
same
is
way we went through the heat waves and we went through
yeah,
the world becoming ice.
exactly.
That's exactly what's happening now. That surrounding light is pressing on us, and it's turning into heat waves. It's turning into virus. It's turning into all of this. And our work is to do the process you
To
were talking about.
calibrate, yeah, calibrate ourselves towards that light, towards that program, in a conscious way. How do we do that? That's where it gets less sexy. You wanna go there in the last
No,
four
no,
minutes? Okay.
no, because there's hold on. It's actually very,
All
very
right.
sexy. The problem you have is that you can't explain it. It's like taking a cat to the opera. Like it's impossible to just say words. I have to communicate an emotional. I think an emotional experience. But let's go back a minute. That suppose there's 100,000 grams of surrounding light pressing on us, right? Then it's causing tornadoes and earthquakes and viruses. And what else is happening now? Free Britney. What else?
Yeah.
Assassination of the
Okay.
Haitian president.
Political
Whatever.
divide, racial divide, social
Okay, so
divide.
say it's a thousand gram. I don't know,
Okay.
1,000 kilograms. I don't know, a lot. 1,000 kilograms of surrounding light pressing on us. It either turns into all those terrible things, or we, as this human creature, takes all of that surrounding light, processes it, as Asaf said, and then we shine it back on all of creation. And then all of that 1,000 grams, all of it, that's called the end of correction, when we get the whole thing, when we do it fully, is all of it shines back, and even the darkness shines as light, and then we have fulfilled our role, and we all feel eternity together.
Right. And the Kabbalist is basically always measuring. Why is it a science? Why is it an empirical science with actual measurements and observations that can be repeated and measured again and so on? Because the Kabbalist is capable of breaking down their inner vessel to the part that calculates the light. How much light can I, how much of the program can I be in equivalence with right now? How much of it can I take? How much of it I can't? And accordingly, I divide my vessel to a part that can flow with the program, and a part of it that can't. And by the way, the part that can't is called end, which in Hebrew means sof. And when we achieve the final correction, there's no more such part in our vessel. There's no more part that is an end, that puts an end to the light. The whole vessel can receive the light, and that's why that state is called no end, or en sof, or infinity. That's so the anyway. We're getting very technical now, and I
You are,
think
yeah, yeah.
we
But
should do
this,
a
can you go back to that for a minute though?
cathartic ending. What?
No, no, without getting too much into details. What is the Kabbalist doing? Again, can you explain it again? Not about what he's deciding he can't deal with, but just what is what the surrounding light is pressing on him, and you were explaining.
And he's measuring how much can I resemble uh, uh, that program? How much can I relate to that program the same way it relates to me? How much can I be in equivalence of form with it? That is how Kabbalists call it, meaning developing an intention that is similar to nature's program. That's what we're missing. That's what's, every time. So every time now, when something's happening to you in life, or when, on social scales, you see more people fighting and, feeling greater resistance to each other, all of that is just data that we
It's the
need to
surrounding
add
light that's
exactly, and we need to work with it. We need to add our conscious participation to it. What is that conscious participation? An intention that we develop on our own consciously. It's an independent act of the created being that we need to add to the data in order to use it correctly, and then we can receive that light, and it won't just work on us from outside as surrounding light. Anyway, we got really technical today. I don't know why that
no, a
happened.
lot of good
I
examples.
hope
All these computer examples worked well.
the computer examples. That's where it all came from. Anyway, I hope everybody listening we're still with us. um, I I admit I didn't have a lot of opportunities to look into the chat today, but Seth, let's just say
I know
thank you
without Chris
to
here, it's hard.
let's say thank you to everybody who's been with us, because I do see a bunch of friends from many places, a lot of the usual suspects too, and some
So
new names as
Seraphine
well.
Winslow and Sue Galloway and Hey Debbie and
Oh, and
Shannon
Yetzi
and
and
Walter and
a dual
Hadul,
spirits. Hey, we saw you last time as well. Walter
Julie
Z, hey, what's
Dahan,
up?
Deborah. Oh wow,
Yeah, Annie,
Natalia,
Annie
Peter,
Kurtz, Caleb, uh,
X95,
Madame Etoile.
Madame.
I hope I'm pronouncing X95. What's up? Peter Jacobson, Natalia, um,
Over on TGT, I think we have a bunch of Kabu
Deborah,
friends: Patricia,
Deborah.
Kevin,
Hey,
Francine.
hey, Julie. Julie, I think said in the beginning that she considers herself a curious onlooker, probably not a spy. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Ujiku,
Azarel, Mary,
Patricia,
Patricia,
Corey.
Isabel,
Yeah. All right.
Raina, Corey. Hey,
Yeah.
everybody.
I'm
Wow, a lot of people. Okay,
scrolling
guys, we
fast. Francine, definitely
have.
missing. Hey, Kevin. Okay. Great to see you all. Thank you for being with us. Seth, what are we doing? Are we singing something together?
Yeah,
Are
we
you
got
playing a
a song here,
song?
but
Can you
yeah, we're
grab
gonna.
the guitar and play a song, or
No,
what?
no, no. I'm not prepared.
All right.
I probably can, but I'm so unprepared for it. I don't even know if it's in tune. How about next time?
Come on. All right.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yes. Guys, you got to show him some love in the chat. He's without his headphones right now. When he puts them, so I can speak without him hearing me. Show him some love. Yeah. He's very sensitive to that. Yeah, just explode the chat. Seth, I was just seeing that a bunch of people here are responding in the chat. They want live music. They want you to play something.
unprepared.
Maybe just give us a chorus. Just give us one sweet chorus.
We got you. Okay, can you
Okay.
hear well?
Yeah,
We've
I think
played
it
this
works.
one here before, but it's one of my favorites.
All right.
The mix is okay.
It's pretty good. When you'll start singing, you'll be a little louder and it'll be fine.
Up closer to the mouth. You tell me how it is. What am I? I learn what they know. I'm just a child. I learn by watching you. I need you to show me something good. Show me how. I can't do it without you. When I'm waiting for something to happen, we determine what will happen. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen. To belong, to come here as your friend. The light is strong, we can touch our soul at last. I need you to show me something good. Show me how. I can't do it without you. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen. To belong, we're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Thursday, 2 p.m., everybody. Lots of love for you, Seth, in the chat there. Yeah, felt like we all sang it together. And amazing how the lyrics sit on this episode. On we determine what will happen.
What am I?
Bye, everyone. See you next Thursday, 2 p.m.
Just a child, I learned by watching you. I need you to show me something good. Show me how. I can't do it without you. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine